So thank you for being here, and really the purpose of this panel is what's happening in the future with respect to cities, right, and technology, and how are things going to change. And our format is really set up for each of our panelists to introduce themselves briefly, and then I've got a couple of questions I'll ask, and if we have some time, hopefully we can open it up to some Q&A from the audience. So with that, Michael, please introduce yourself.
I'm Michael Bykowski. My path has been fairly winding. I started as a particle physicist back in the days, ended up running large financial institutions on Wall Street, moved out to California, and obviously did a startup which provided analytical systems for the financial industry. After that, did some political advisory, helped write some of the financial regulatory bills, and end up funding a company that is supposed to transform the telecom. Now, if you're a monopoly, getting transformed is not something that you seek to happen to you. So we have created technology that allows to send about 40 times the amount of data through the same amount of spectrum. There's a 4G, probably heard, there's 5G, and we'll consider to be 6G. So being able to send unlimited amount of spectrum is probably critical for everything we're talking about. In other words, if you want to have smart sensors, if you want to have self-driving cars, if you want to have cameras communicating, all of them gobble up spectrum. Right now, technology limits the amount of data you can send. We unlimited. So that's where we are.
Great. Thank you, Michael. Daniel, please introduce.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. My name is Daniel Itzkowski. I'm a founder, five-time founder, funder, and self-proclaimed futurist. Which just means I like to think about the future a lot, and then see where I can kind of impact it in small ways. So I've created a bunch of companies in the past. I think the one that most people know me for is I invented a bicycle lock that explodes with pepper spray and noxious chemicals when you cut it. And it sounds crazy, it sounds illegal, but believe it or not, it was actually a climate change company. And I think we do more for climate change than many. And it needed to be crazy to take off. So I'm fascinated by the fact that you can do something really small and potentially have a huge impact in a very short period of time. I'm really excited to be here, and thanks for having me.
Great, thanks, Daniel. Paul?
Yeah. Hello? Yeah. My name is Paul. I'm a founder of a project for Dexter City, not Dexter City. Yeah. And so my initiative would do around the three big projects. The first one is to make innovation solution for cemetery and funeral ceremony with this proposed based vehicle. The other is No Stone Tombstone Collective invited more creative designers and creative technologies to build a tombstone with no stone. The third thing is we also working on the future city storytelling is affected by climate change and the rising sea level. So I'm also working as a global chair of a home. It's a series ending homelessness conferences with the Big Issue Foundation. And so yeah, I will tell more project about this panel session. First of all, yeah, it's the first time to talk about my story with no presentation. So it's very, very nervous. So I try to deliver it's a new concept of the future cities.
Thank you. Vince, please.
First, I want to say good afternoon to everybody, and thanks for choosing this panel with Joe and our panelists here. So I want to give a round of applause to all of you first to come here. Why not?
Cheers.
Get some energy going. My name is Vince Scully. I'm a former entrepreneur turned into investor. So my fundamental goal is to make companies public and IPO. Did companies at the pandemic, and I was very surprised I did that things. But I'm here for this panel called Future of Cities. I think the future of cities starts with future of entrepreneurship. That's the fundamental base. And I feel like that will come with my thesis called impact investing. I know it's kind of broad word, but impact investing, how do you measure the impact? Exponential impact. You can pick either medicine, space medicine, agriculture, but anything which impacts humanity at scale.
Yeah.
I think that's what my thesis comes. So anything which I invest has a very fundamental layer. And what I look at a founder is founder's grit. Many founders come with ideas, and I say, don't give me an idea because I'll copy your idea.
Mhm.
Come with me a hard problem, and let's not have a chat.
Yeah.
So thank you, Joe, for hosting us.
Yeah, thank you, Vince. Great. So incredible panel. So we'll start with the first question, which is what will the city of the future look like? And how will it be shaped by technology advancements?
That's a good one. Well, we're observing some of that probably in China already. Incredible surveillance technology. Technology can recognize faces. At this point, you can probably, if you cross the street in the wrong place, the chance of your kid going to college is probably lower. That's on one spectrum. There's like this whole dystopian surveillance nightmare. On the more of the upside, it's already happening. You know when your bus is coming, you know you can call Uber. Probably in the future, I would imagine transportation systems that are automated, that you can call like small type of vans or small units to decrease the amount of traffic. Another interesting thing about the future of the cities is why do cities exist? You know, if you look at studies looking at productivity, looking at investment return, they're all extremely highly positively correlated to density of where you live. As a matter of fact, if your investment firm is based in Manhattan, your expected investment returns are going to be 1% to 2% higher than if it were to be based somewhere else. Density matters. Close to other people matters. Now, in the future, will that change? Can we actually be close to each other without being close physically? I would postulate no. It's being something about human presence, about human trust. Everything in how our society works is dependent on trust. I don't know if you can develop trust remote. So I believe that going forward, as trust becomes more and more important, and the fraction of production effort actually going into production becomes less and less, and becomes about our connection to each other, cities, to me, should become more important. Maybe offices will not be as full, but people will still want to be closer to each other. That's an optimistic point.
Great point. And I'll take it to this event. Started 7 or 8 months ago with 5 people sitting at a coffee shop. And here we are with 1,400 people signed up, right? Because people want to be around people and want to connect with people. It's the whole thing. It's the heart of the matter. Daniel.
So our technology is evolving more than an order of magnitude faster than we are as biological human beings. And that poses a lot of challenges, I think. One of those realities, though, from that is, like you said, we are, for the foreseeable future, going to want to interact interpersonally with each other. However, what is the future city? If I were to model a trajectory for us today in one word, it would be grim, because we want to be together in one place. However, the way we're doing that is insustainable. So the only way that I can really answer that question is it'll be a whole lot different than they are today.
Okay. All right.
Okay, I don't want to mention specific technologies about the future cities, but so indeed, I can shape our whole entire future. But I want to focus on cemeteries. So my team is working on 3 types of cemeteries: underwater cemetery, underground cemetery, and civic cemetery using AR, XR technologies. But it's why we use the AR, XR technologies to develop, cemetery. We want to free up the vast land. If you save, it's a free up vast land, we are gonna build, houses, to solve the public housing. have you ever think about, how many percentage of, urban area in this planet? Just 3% of urban area in this planet. But 1% of cemetery is kind of similar. 30% of its, cemetery consists of what is urban area. If we move the cemetery using technologies, we can build 200 million houses on the space. So it's the point why we think about the technology to shape the future. So we are gonna working on XR, AR technologies, and in order to build the underground cemetery, we are working with a conveyor belt like a parking building.
Sure.
Yeah. This is my point.
Great.
We are gonna share we are gonna take advantage of the technology to shape our future cities.
Thank you, Paul.
So as a former entrepreneur and a current investor, I like to break down questions as a design thinker. So his question has two elements. The first element is technology, another is cities, and the third element is future. Now, if you've been living here for the last 2 or 3 decades, the future of tech has always been constant, means we cannot stop it. There was a .com, then in 2010 it became .io, and now every website is .ai. So if you look at in order to understand the future, I think we need to have some trajectory to understand the past. Then we can understand how we shape this whole thing for future. This means if a given constant, is technology going to change? Yes. Future is going to come in? Yes. So what is required? I think required is a human empathy. In last 50 years, honestly, I've been to the founder of Ethernet and TCP/IP back in days. I don't know if you guys know it. There was a blue cord. And I talked to the founder. He invented that at age 30, and he's 80 now at Google. And I said, Vince, one thing has not changed in the last 50 years is human behavior. So I think we all need to understand that things which is not in our control are not in our control, but in order to future to shape something, right? It's like all babies when they're born, they look alike. Then somehow they're shaped differently. So I think we need to shape this with the element of empathy. And I think the empathy is the gift which all 9.45 billion people have it. But how do we start executing? And I think that's going to be reverse engineering stuff to shape the future of cities.
So we got to get, if I understood that, Vince, we got to get people to tap into their empathy and then apply that to people around them?
Absolutely. If you look at AI, then it becomes responsible AI, radical AI, explainable AI. But what's all that? If you break down the whole problem, is understanding of that, because it's a huge giant ball, right? But where it comes from an element of compassion and a care. And I think the word empathy means that how I make you feel, and how is technology going to make me feel? However, we want our future generations to feel our legacy. Trust me, all of us we are building our own legacy, right? For not just for our kids. People say our kids. I said no, it's for the whole planet.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you, Vince. That's great. Okay, we'll try this next question. What's the most important takeaway that you want the audience to think about? We'll do that rapid fire.
That's a great question. I think we tend to think of future in terms of technology, faster buses, better communication, greener streets, but that's not the question. The question is, how do cities make us feel? What is our presence in the city? What are our beliefs that make us want to live together as opposed to as far as possible from each other? And the human element is so, I would say, almost unpredictable. I could never have predicted the nightmare of disinformation 15 years ago when internet was everything that's positive. How will humans use this enabling technology to connect, or for the lack of a better word, find a way to screw each other? So the future of the cities depends on what are the belief systems, what are the emotional fabric that kind of binds us to each other. We can all come up with excellent scenarios of how the traffic will move better, cities, there's less pollution, less housing shortage. Great. Is this the question? What's the question?
Yeah. Thank you.
How many people here drove here today? So almost everyone. How many people here learned to ride a bike when they were a kid? Almost everyone. So I think one thing that I want everybody to take away from this is we have opportunities to make a positive change on how we live in the future. And I'm pretty pragmatic. I don't think you can easily change human behavior. But one thing that we can do is have more people choose more sustainable modes of transportation to get around places. And one of those is if you're able-bodied, if you're able to ride a bike, I highly encourage it because that has a significant impact on the trajectory of how we're going to live in the next few decades.
Great. Thank you, Daniel.
Then you still, as my method, through question. Okay, so I flew from.
Hold the mic closer, Paul.
Yeah. I came from Brooklyn. I live in Brooklyn, so I can fly into here to talk about death with you guys. So actually, so, this the summit name is Create the Future. 사실, as a Create the Future is invisible. The death industry is a cemetery funeral ceremony. The invisible about invisible things. People barely miss this part. Actually, so, John, you traveled to Italy. I also, traveled to Italy to attend, cemetery and funeral expo in Bologna, TAN Expo. So when I attended the TAN Expo, the cemetery, it's around more than 10,000 people attended.
Wow.
People never know about it. So when I attended the expo, I realized if we use technology, we are going to solve a lot of problems with the people around the world. And so I'm here to ask you guys to engage them more about the invisible things like this. So I'm going to give you a question. What if cemetery stopped receiving the body? What will happen? We already experienced about things during COVID-19 pandemic. We are going to use the technology to innovate this stuff. We will, make our future together. I want to tell this point with our all audiences, all moderators, and yeah.
Thank you, Paul.
So I have a few things for you guys to take away. The first important thing is the first metric, unlearn everything. It's very hard to do. Unlearn everything. The day you adopt this philosophy in your mind, you're going to envision the world which nobody can believe. It's pure imagination. Second thing, I'll give you an example of unlearn. Like make presentations without a presentation deck. Because it's very easy to say, don't get feared, don't do this. But I like to give examples. Like try making a storytelling technique. Try to tell your stories to your friends without a presentation. That's called unlearning because we all learned in my business school to have a PowerPoint. So that's kind of bad learning. Second thing, their takeaways, get comfortable with uncomfortable. And that's a fundamental thing. So if you do these two fundamental shifts, I think you yourself as a human force can make a lot of good changes. So those are the two takeaways, I believe. And get comfortable, uncomfortable, like he mentioned, our panelists start using bikes versus red cars. So that is uncomfortable, right? You have your helmet, the dress it's kind of awkward, right? To come to with a suit in a bicycle, but that's called being uncomfortable. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, and certainly all kinds of countries all over the world, biking is a major part of the transportation system, right? That's what seems to work, right? So I think we've got a couple more minutes, but are there any questions?